Hello, and welcome to Mindset for Meaning, where I'm going to take thoughts and ideas and explore them through what I kind of describe as a talking meditation. It's not my phrase. You'll hear many phrases that aren't mine. It's things I've read, things I've heard, and they are the thoughts that I want to explore and develop and try to formulate as I talk, and hopefully come to some kind of beneficial outcome. And what I'm hoping for each of my videos is that I will learn to talk and express those ideas more succinctly, clearly, and it will help me get my thoughts in line. Because I feel very strongly about making people's days just that little bit better. No matter where you're starting from on the how good is my day scale, it could always, I would like to imagine, get just that little bit better. And there are many ways it can get better. So I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole already on that. So I'm trying to keep my thoughts focused on where I'm trying to head towards. And I'm trying to head towards developing a mindset. And within that mindset, there will be many attitudes, and they will help develop a set of maybe tools or mind nuggets, like little golden nuggets of thoughts and ideas that you can then put into, or I shouldn't say you, we or I can put into action that help us move forward and upwards every day towards something better. And there are going to be many terms like that, many terms that sound vague and too big. But I'm hoping that as we go through this process of this talking meditation, to see what comes up as I talk, that we can kind of narrow down the focus and say, okay, here's the idea. From the idea, what can I extract? What can I take from this idea that I can put into action? Because if I can focus on what I can put into action, then that gives me a certain sense of strength, a certain sense of power, a certain sense of control. Because you see sports people do this all the time. You know, when they lose, for example, they will often talk about referees, weather, things leading up to the game, things that are outside their control. Because it's a way to protect ourselves. If we focus on things that are outside our control, then we don't have to take responsibility for it. And so what I want to do is say, no, let's pull this inside. Let's say, okay, as much as all these things might be right, all these things might be going on around me. I might have so many people around me who are negative, or the conditions may not be optimal, they may be bad. But what can I do? How can I take charge? How can I take responsibility for my day as best I can? What can I do to grasp, to take a hold of the day and say, okay, no matter all this going on, at least I can do this, and I am aiming forwards and I am aiming upwards. And so this sense of control, these things that are in my grasp, in my control that I can actually change. Okay, because my physical height is to do with me, but I can't change it, not really. So I'm looking at what is it about these ideas that I want to talk about? What is it about them that I can then take, say, okay, and within this idea, we can pull this out and extract this nugget and put this in to our mindset for the day. And so I want to start with an idea of wanting the best. Wanting the best. Now already my mind is going all over the place. Wanting the best for who? Wanting the best. What do you mean by the best? What do I mean by the best? What do I mean by want? And so I guess the first path to move down is wanting the best for who? Well, let's start in the obvious place. I want the best for me. I want the best for me. Okay, that seems like a reasonable proposition. It seems like a good place to start. But again, it's a bit more complex than that, because what's best for me today might not be what's best for me tomorrow. And what's best for one aspect of me might not be best for another aspect of me. So if I'm really hungry, I could go out and eat 5 fast food meals, and that will certainly be best for my appetite for a short period of time. But it won't be best for my longevity or health. And so already it's quite complex. And so when I say I want the best for me, what part of me do I want the best for? Well, I want the best for the best parts of me. I want to nurture and encourage and grow and strengthen the best parts of me, as opposed to encouraging and growing and strengthening the negative aspects of me, which is a topic we can talk about on another day. So already we've drilled down a little bit. We've got this idea of, okay, I want the best for me. I want the best, not just for me in general. I want the best for the best parts of me. And again, there's a lot of layers to peel away to think about, well, what do you mean? Do you mean my mental health? Do you mean my emotions? Do you mean my physical health? Do you mean your sleep patterns? Do you mean your food, your daily habits and your routines and the way you talk and how you present yourself? There's so many different layers. But the general idea where I want to start is wanting the best. Because this sets the tone. Because this already gives us an umbrella under which to work. Am I acting in a way that is positive or negative? Am I acting in a way that is enriching and nurturing? Or am I acting in a way that is discouraging and destructive? Am I working in a way that is protective and safe and creating a safe, positive environment? Or am I working in this way that kind of exposes people and is not safe, and I'm kind of pushing people down? And when I say pushing people down, I also mean myself. Self-criticism, self-deprecation, etc., etc. And so this tone is this is the reason I chose the topic, because it sets the tone for my mindset. This overall idea of, I want the best for the best parts of me. And now we can expand it a little bit. I want the best for the best parts of me. I want the best for the parts of me that want to grow and to succeed and to achieve and to feel good and to feel positive and to find some meaning. But I also want that for you. Because obviously what's best for me might not be what's best for you. And we see this happening around us all the time. And I've certainly done it in the past where I've focused on what's best for me and it's not been what's best for the people around me. And so here's another layer of, okay, this tone is not just about me. It is about me. I have to look after myself. I have to operate in this world. I have to look after myself. I have to be responsible for myself. But I can also expand that out a little bit and be responsible for you. And that can be the people in my immediate sphere. It can be my family, my loved ones, my dearest friends, my work colleagues, the people I pass on the street. I mean, how far do we want to expand that? And not only today, like I mentioned briefly, not just for today, but for tomorrow. Because what's best today might not be what's best tomorrow. It feels great to vent. It might feel great, and I've certainly done it, where you let someone have it. You let them know exactly what you think, and it feels great. And that is wanting the best for myself in that moment. But it's certainly not what's wanting the best for them. And the day after, when you feel really down on yourself, regretful, guilty, you haven't been thinking about your future self. And so we've almost got, well, who do we want the best for? I want the best for me. I want the best for the best parts of me. I want the best for the best parts of you and those around me. And I want that not just today. I want that in a sustainable way. I want it tomorrow. I want it next week. I want it next month. I want it next year. And again, we don't know if those people around us would adopt such an attitude, but we can't control that. But what I can control is my attitude. I can try to monitor myself, and I can adopt this way of being. I can adopt this mindset, which as part of my mindset is I want the best for myself, for those around me, today and in the future. And that seems like a great place to start. The thing that I always spot is, how do mistakes get handled? So when you walk into a workplace, as a customer, you walk into a cafe and the waitress or the waiter or the chef or the server makes a mistake. How are they treated? How do you treat them? How are they treated by the customers, the other people around them? How are they treated by their colleagues? In the place that you work or in your home, when someone messes up, they do something wrong, how is that treated? Now, there are many ways to deal with mistakes. And unfortunately, what really strikes me is when you see that those mistakes are used to judge someone, not in a favorable way. They're used to almost as a black mark against their name. You know, it's, oh, they did this wrong, they can't do this, they made this mistake, it's their fault. It's finger pointing in a way to push them down And the person doing the finger pointing, the person pointing out the mistake, uses it as a way to step on, to place themselves higher in the social hierarchy. So, and I'm sure as you're listening to this, you can almost think of many, many examples of seeing it and doing it, because none of us are perfect. And so none of us will be able to sustain this indefinitely. We all slip. But hopefully with this thought, we can maybe catch ourselves before we express such a thing in a negative way. So when someone makes a mistake, we may want to say, oh, we've spoken about this before. Why have you done this again? How could you make such a mistake? Are you stupid? We may have those thoughts. We may have those emotions. But maybe we can catch them and say, okay, this is a human being. This person there behind those eyes is another soul looking out into the world, just trying to get through their day somehow. And what I want for them, the best part of them, is the part of them that can grow, the part of them that can actually grasp onto something and improve. And even if I have a different opinion about how they might go about their day, did they do it intentionally? Do they not care? Put all that aside and say, okay, I'm going to assume the best in you. I'm going to assume the best intentions. I'm going to have an attitude of good faith towards you and assume that you want the best. That assume that you have good intentions. I'm not going to automatically default to a position where I assume the worst intentions, that you don't care, that you're not intelligent enough, etc., etc. What I'm going to default to is a position of, okay, you made a mistake. I can certainly think of instances in my life where I've made a mistake. And people don't tend to get better by having fingers pointed at them, shouted down, blamed, and put into this almost pray mode. Because when someone jumps into pray mode, all parts of our brain fire up, and we go into, we become prey, we become fearful, our cortisol levels rise, we get this mental closing of the world around us, parts of our body starts to shut down, and we can't operate in such a way. So I don't want to turn someone into prey and me be the predator. That's not what I want. What I want is to be able to confront things as they occur willingly, but I want to confront them with an attitude of, let's get through this together. Now that's for me as well. So when I make a mistake and I have this, and I might beat myself up for a second, say, okay, let's confront this together. Let's look at this together. What happened? Why did it happen? And how can we avoid it again? Or how can we make it a bit better next time? And so this whole idea of wanting the best for the best part of you, for me, myself, for the people around me, for the company that I work for my family, for the people I interact with on a daily basis, is, I think, quite a valuable place to start. And maybe you'll start to spot around you that person doesn't want the best for themselves. that person doesn't want the best for me. This company doesn't want the best for me. Those people don't want the best for their customers. Those customers don't want the best for the people. You'll start to spot it. Now, what I want to do is encourage you to spot it, but not to call it out. Because we can't start saying, well, you don't want the best for me, or you don't want... That's not the idea. The idea is to say, okay, let's pull it inside. And I can control my attitude. I can control how I operate on a daily basis. I heard this great example on Tony Robbins actually talking about on what we do, and he learnt it from one of his mentors. But it's an old story, and he talks about what do we do when children are learning to walk. When a child learns to walk, a baby is learning to walk around about the time they approach the age of 1, and they keep falling over, and they keep falling over. What do? Do you point at them and say, you're terrible at walking, just give up now, just quit, you're a disaster, this is a disaster, why do you keep making the same mistake, why do you keep falling over, what's wrong with you? No. Well, you could do that. Give up. Crawl for the rest of your life. You know, and you can take that and apply it to anything that you see in the workplace, or anything you see in your home, or anything you see on the streets. But really, what do? We keep encouraging. We're like, hey, come on, get back up. I know it hurts now, you know. How can we, well, let's try it this way. And we try and find ways to encourage and learn and improve and grow. So slowly and slowly and slowly, the child can walk. And then what we do is we don't then take this child and say, yeah, okay, you can walk now, but do you remember all those mistakes you made? Do you remember how many times you used to fall over? You were a disaster. I'm going to keep focusing on that. I'm going to forget the fact that you can walk now. I'm going to keep reminding you of all the times you fell over, all the times you were crying, all the times I had to come and attend. We're not going to do that. So it's quite a nice way to view how do I treat people around me when something goes wrong. And why am I focusing on that? Because really, when things are working, you don't notice them. When your muscles are fine, you don't notice them. When something goes wrong, you get a pain signal. We don't notice when things are okay. We only notice when something out of the ordinary happens, and that's usually when something goes wrong. I have an expectation, here's how things should be, and then all of a sudden something happens that's not quite in line with that, and it stands out and it's an anomaly. And you can get the positive sides of that too. You can get these things where you're expecting things to be and something extraordinary happens and it's joyful and it's incredible and it's way beyond expectations. Those things happen. But those things tend not to happen as regularly as mistakes and errors and anomalies. And so the reason I kind of wanted to the reason I think mistakes came up is it's quite, what would I say? It's more prevalent because I make mistakes all the time. I've made some huge mistakes in the past, but I make mistakes daily, you know? And so how I treat myself on those and how I can then embody that and almost have that as my embodied attitude, my way of being on a daily basis to those around me, how I can take those this idea of nurturing is something to aim at. I know I'm not going to get it right all the time. I know I'm still going to get my frustrations. I know when someone does something and I think, my goodness, I've explained this to you, I know at least 5 times. And it's very easy then to point, and I can say, well, okay. But actually, what I can do is take a step back and say, okay, is there something in the way that I am not explaining this well enough? Am I not teaching this well enough? Am I not explaining this well enough? Am I not setting out the aims well enough? Am I not being clear enough? Am I not explaining it in the right way? Is there something I can do? This element of taking charge, taking responsibility, pulling it back inside and saying, what can I do? What can I do? Because I certainly haven't done everything. And so the takeaway from today is monitor the attitude of nurturing. I like the word nurturing, encouraging, but I like the word nurturing. And it doesn't mean that you can't point out what is an error. By saying to someone, look, this isn't good, that's not in and of itself negative. If you say, that's not good, you're a bad person, that's not good, you're useless, that's not good, this means this bad thing about you, that is then negative. But if you point out an error, look, this isn't good, this has happened 5 times, for example, to link back to what I was saying a bit before, this has happened before. Clearly, we're not handling it right. Clearly, something's going wrong somewhere. How can we fix this? How can we move to a place where it doesn't happen again, or it doesn't quite happen? And because it comes from a place of you want the best for this person. And again, I'm putting it out there almost as an interaction between you and someone else. But this can very much be an internal dialogue in yourself. You know, why did I do that again? Well, I can castigate myself and, beat up on myself and tell myself I'm a terrible person. I can say, okay, finally, what's going wrong? How can we move? How do you want to move forward in the world? What kind of person do you want to be? And if you want that to be positive and move forward and make your days a bit better, then how can we say, okay, yes, this went wrong, but how can I make it a little bit better next time? The problem comes not from finding an anomaly, finding an error. The problem comes from the meaning we attach to it. And rather than see something as an opportunity to say, okay, can I improve this? Can I grow from this? Can I take a little step towards ensuring it doesn't quite happen as bad as this next time? Or can I completely eradicate it next time? Then that's a much more empowering and strengthening way to be. So to kind of bring it all back, because like I said, I'm going to be talking out loud, as opposed thinking out loud, not talking, because talking in and of itself is out loud, right? So I'm going to be thinking out loud. My thoughts will jump around, and I know I've repeated myself quite a lot already on here, but that's the idea. I want this to be quite raw. I want it to be just a thought process, to put them out there, to develop an idea, to see where it goes, to see what comes up. And so, my first nugget, my first aspect of the mindset is going to be one of wanting the best for the best in you and those around you. Because we can control that. We can embody that. We can try to put that in place, and we can control that. We can take responsibility and say, no, I'm not going to push people down. I'm not going to strive for the worst. I'm not going to want the worst for me. I'm not going to want the worst for those around me. No matter what comes up inside me, I'm going to embody wanting the best. I'm going to embody trying to nurture. Because this sets the tone for meaning. This sets the tone for a positive day. This sets the tone for moving forwards and for moving upwards. And so I put it to you that the first nugget, the first aspect of the mindset that we want to develop is that of wanting the best for yourself, wanting the best for the best part of yourself, and wanting the best for the best part of those around you. Until next time, we'll pick this up, and I will see you in 1 week's time. And I'm excited that throughout the course of the next 7 days, you will find ways to put that into action. And we will find ways to put that into action. I know this video has been a bit clunky. It's my first one besides the introduction. It's very much a learning process for me. There are so many mistakes in this. I'm not going to be critical. I'm going self-critical. I'm going to take it as an opportunity to get better. That's all I can do. I hope it hasn't been too awkward to watch. If you're still with me now, thank you. You didn't switch off. That's great. And so I look forward to picking this up next week, and I wish you a week where you move a little bit forward and a little bit up and want the best for the best in you and those around you. Thank you, goodbye, and I will see you next week.